18 by 24, thick profile, Sisyphus until death, a fulfilled life, versus anxiety, a case for hedonism. First thing with the titles, if you have been watching these regularly or you just happen to catch the bowling one anyway, Sisyphus until death, a fulfilled life was also part of that title. I didn't mean to use it twice. I had plans for it, and then I don't even remember the circumstances in wherein I don't remember the circumstances wherein I realized that I had used it twice, but I knew it, and I decided not to change it. It is also not the only title, and it fits both for a reason. And also, it's just the same body of work, and it just makes sense. It makes sense a lot. The other one had more humor in it than this one. The bowling one that I refer to is the man. I'm feeling like this right now. I'm exhausted in every way. Who do you think you are? I am. That's the bowling one that I'm speaking of. Anyway. Okay. There's that view. We'll get a little closer here. So, this is some acrylic fabric paint is the pink, and then the oil pastel is the rest of it. So yeah, very large face self-portrait. I don't think it's going to take very long. I think it's actually pretty simple. So we go back and I re-explain that a bit just in case you haven't seen it. So again, Sisyphus basically charged with or condemned with the punishment of for the entirety of his life, which is, I think, eternal. He would roll a boulder up a mountain just so that it would fall down again, and he'd have to do it all over again the next day. And I mentioned Albert Camus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but a French writer, philosopher type who he's written a lot of material, but one thing was about Sisyphus, an essay on Sisyphus, and part of the essay he speaks on how we must imagine Sisyphus happy. And I think I'll leave that part there for you to think about and how you could apply that to your own life and what boulders you're rolling uphill and or if that's just what life is and that's accepted or if it's not. But that's only the first part of this. Sisyphus until death, a fulfilled life. Versus anxiety, a case for hedonism. So I think I've got some pretty flashy colors here. The hot pink, the silver. They're really prominent, and the other stuff is pretty muted, especially on top of the silver. So it's definitely one of those that translates to in person a lot better, but you can see some details there, some facial expression. And basically, like most of these pieces, it's just discussing ideas on mortality and life and death, same thing. And how do you want to live? Or me, how am I living? How do I want to live? And I think I've had this idea for a long time now, a long time maybe only being in a couple of years, about anxiety being a case for hedonism, in the aspect that with hedonism, if depending on how you interpret that, or what school of hedonism you may subscribe to, that the goal of life is to seek pleasure. And I think, again, my anxiety is really rooted in mortality and the fear of mortality and not accepting mortality. That is a huge part of where my anxiety stems from on a daily basis, and why I get so concerned about wasting time and efficiency and things of that nature. So I think the case for hedonism is that the acknowledgement of the universal truth of death and that you never know when you're going to die. And that that much anxiety about it is wasting time and wasting life and taking away opportunities to enjoy life and act and be present and all those things that anxiety can rob you of. And I think that's the thing, is like anxiety existing, manifesting for me the way that it does, makes a case for hedonism to be the other. I don't know. It's not like it's on the opposite side of that spectrum, but it is very much an opposite thing. It is another way of looking at how to have a fulfilled life, and if that is not through, I don't even know what to call it. What would I say? A Sisyphusian lens of you just do the work, and like, what is the work? And then we got to question that, and that's the thing, is it's presenting all these ideas for us to question. And what is a fulfilling life? What does that mean? How much balance in that quality of life is the pursuit of pleasure? And how much of it is, and is that short term? Is that impulsivity? Is that long term? Is that, pleasure right now that sacrifices pleasure later? And there's things like that where some people talk about the ideas of how restrictions and rules and things like that you can impose upon yourself and give yourself these structures and things that they can be more free because you are not trapped by things like addiction or other things that may take up time in a way that doesn't necessarily benefit you for more than a few minutes or seconds or hours versus how much detriment it does to the rest of your life. However, you don't know the rest of your life. That's the thing. You don't know if that is 5 seconds from now and you've got 5 seconds, or you've got 50 years. For some people, depending on how old you are, you might recognize you do not have 50 years, but it is the acknowledgement that you don't know, that you are not aware of how much life you have left. So what do you do with it when trying to create long-term goals and all these balances and things like that, depending on who you are, depending on your own existentialist philosophies and learnings, understandings, and questions, or lack thereof, that influences how you live. So that is basically it. That is Sisyphus until death, a fulfilled life, versus anxiety, a case for hedonism. This Sisyphus is exhausting.